AITA for refusing to attend family events where I am consistently disrespected. I am 34 years old. I have been with my husband for 5 years. We have built a life together that I am genuinely proud of, a stable home, careers we care about, friendships we have maintained with real effort, and a relationship that, while imperfect in the ordinary ways that all honest relationships are, is built on mutual respect and genuine affection. People who know us well often remark on how we actually seem to enjoy each other's company, which I have come to understand is less common than it should be. My family of origin is a different story entirely, and I want to be careful about how I describe it because I do not want to be dramatic or unfair. They are not monsters. They have not done anything that most people would consider unforgivable in any single incident taken in isolation. The problem, as is so often the case with family dynamics, is cumulative. It is the weight of 10 years of small moments, each one explainable away individually, that has become impossible to continue carrying. My mother is the central figure here, though she is not the only one. She is a woman who loves deeply and controls compulsively, and I say that with as much compassion as I can muster, because I genuinely believe those two things are connected for her in ways she has never examined. She grew up in a household where love was conditional on performance and compliance, and she replicated that dynamic without, I think, ever consciously choosing to do so. Understanding the origin of a behavior does not obligate me to keep absorbing it indefinitely, but it does help me feel less angry about it. The specific issue that prompted this post is about family gatherings, which in my family occur approximately 5 or 6 times per year. For the past several years, I have attended all of them. I have done this because I was raised to believe that showing up for family is non-negotiable, that whatever difficulties exist within a family are secondary to the fundamental obligation of presence. I internalized that belief completely, and looking back, I think it was used against me in ways I did not recognize at the time. What happens at these gatherings, reliably and repeatedly, is a series of interactions that leave me feeling worse than when I arrived. My mother makes comments about my body that she frames as concern, but that land as criticism, the particular kind that has just enough plausible deniability to make you feel crazy for being hurt by it. My aunt asks intrusive questions about our reproductive plans with an entitlement that I find genuinely bewildering. My father makes passive-aggressive observations about my career choices that are framed as curiosity but function as judgment. My brother, who has always been the easier child in my parents' eyes, occasionally joins in with the kind of careless commentary that people who have never had to develop thick skin tend to offer without awareness of its impact. I have tried many approaches over the years. I have tried ignoring these comments and redirecting conversations. I have tried gently pointing out when something felt hurtful, which reliably resulted in my being accused of oversensitivity and ruining the gathering. I have tried having private conversations with my mother after the fact to express how certain remarks affected me, conversations that would go well in the moment, and then have no impact on her behavior at the next event. None of these strategies have produced meaningful change. Approximately 4 months ago, after a birthday dinner that left me sitting in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I trusted myself to drive, I made a decision. I told my therapist what I was thinking. She asked me a question I have been turning over ever since. What are you getting from attending that outweighs what it costs you? I sat with that question for a long time. I could not find an honest answer that justified the arithmetic. I called my mother and told her, as kindly and directly as I knew how, that I needed to take a step back from large family gatherings for the time being. I told her I loved her and wanted a relationship with her, but that the current format of family events was not working for me. I said I was open to spending time with her one-on-one and hoped we could find ways to connect that were better for both of us. The response was not what I had hoped for. My mother cried. She told me I was abandoning my family. She said she had no idea where this was coming from and that I was clearly being influenced by my husband and by my therapist, both of whom she described as people who do not understand how families work. She called my brother, who called me, and told me I was being dramatic and needed to grow up. My aunt sent a long message about how my grandmother would be devastated. I have held my boundary. I have not attended the 2 gatherings that have occurred since that conversation. I have spent time with my mother alone twice, and those interactions have been significantly better, quieter, warmer, more like the relationship I actually want with her. She has not stopped expressing her hurt about the larger situation, but she has been more genuinely present in a way that the chaotic family gatherings do not allow. My husband supports me completely. My therapist thinks I am doing something genuinely healthy. One of my closest friends, who has met my family, told me she has watched me visibly brace myself every time a family event approached for years, and that she is glad I am finally listening to what my body has been trying to tell me. But I still feel guilty. The guilt is significant and persistent and does not respond to logic or reassurance. My mother's voice is in my head telling me I am being selfish and ungrateful. My mother and I had a one-on-one lunch last week. It was the first time we have been together, just the 2 of us, without the noise of a larger gathering, in probably 2 years. It was not perfect. There were 2 moments where I could feel old patterns trying to reassert themselves, but there were also stretches of conversation that felt genuinely warm and present in a way that the big gatherings never allow. She told me a story about her own mother that I had never heard before. I found myself thinking, this is the relationship I actually want with her, and it has been buried under the noise of the larger family structure for years. I do not know if my approach is right. I am aware that I am making a choice with real costs for my relationships, for the family dynamic, for my own sense of identity as someone who values family. Those costs are real, and I do not minimize them. But I am also increasingly convinced that the version of family loyalty I was raised on, the one that requires showing up regardless of how you are treated, was not actually serving anyone well, including my mother. If I am less available in contexts where I am consistently diminished, maybe I can be more genuinely present in the contexts where a real connection is possible. I keep coming back to something my therapist said early in this process. The goal is not to punish anyone. The goal is to create conditions under which an actual relationship can exist. I am still trying to figure out what those conditions look like. But trying, I think, is the right thing to be doing. Am I the asshole for deciding to stop attending gatherings that consistently make me feel disrespected, even though doing so has hurt people I love? Is protecting my mental and emotional well-being worth the cost it is exacting on my family relationships? I genuinely do not know. I keep going back and forth, which is why I am here, asking strangers on the internet, which is perhaps the most modern thing a person can do when they are uncertain about their own choices. For people asking for an update, things have shifted in ways I did not fully anticipate. My mother and I have now had 4 one-on-one meetings since I made this decision. None of them have been perfect. She still occasionally slips into old patterns, a sideways comment here, an unsolicited observation there. But the frequency is dramatically lower than in the group settings, and when it does happen, I am able to address it directly without the whole family dynamic pulling focus. We had a conversation last month that I would describe as genuinely good. We talked about things that had nothing to do with my choices or my body or my reproductive timeline. We talked about her childhood, about my grandfather, about a trip she took when she was 22 that she has never mentioned before. I learned things about my mother that I had not known in 34 years of being her child. That felt significant. I want to be honest that the guilt has not entirely disappeared. I do not think it will. Some of it is the residue of a belief system I was raised inside, and those beliefs do not dissolve just because I have intellectually rejected them. But the guilt has changed in character. It feels less like evidence that I am doing something wrong and more like the growing pain that accompanies doing something genuinely different from what you were taught. My therapist would probably say that is progress. I am inclined to agree. What I keep returning to is this: the version of family connection that requires me to absorb mistreatment in order to participate is not actually connection. It is performance. And I have spent enough years performing that I would rather have something smaller and real than something large and hollow. Whether my family will ultimately meet me in that smaller, realer space, I cannot know yet, but I am keeping the door open, and I am genuinely hopeful.